What's going on, guys? Tyson Anderson, Mr. Hammer Down. Listen, guys, I want to dive right into this thing. Bottom feeders. Where are you going with this, Anderson? And what is this thing you're talking about, a facelift? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to dive right in. Bottom feeders are much, well, I'm going to want to say like scavengers. They are scavengers, right? Bottom feeders come to pick over the remains of what is left and what everybody else doesn't want. They are the crabs of the sea. They are the shellfish of the sea. They are the carps of the sea, the flounders of the sea, the flatfish of the sea, the halibuts of the sea, the soles, the eels, the cods, the haddocks of the sea, the catfish of the sea, okay? In case I'm not making sense to you guys, when you go out here and put the work in, your work may not look like the next kennel's work. Your due diligence may not look like the next kennel's due diligence. But put the work in. See, some people that have put the work in, like your John Otrubas, your late John Otrubas, your Lewis Longs, you see, your Kennedy Racines, you see, your Albert Yankees, you see, your Lou Warmers. They put the work in. Your Elmer Grays, your Frank Reeses. Hello. They put the work in. When you break down the anatomy of everybody's kennels, the first thing that a person should do is identify them as what or who they are. Are you a bottom feeder? Are you one that stocks the feeding poles so that the fish can feed at all? Which one are you? Because there's only two. There's multiples that go in between, but you're either going to be one that stocks the feeders to feed the multiple species of fish, or you're going to be a reciprocant, you're going to be a receiver, you're going to be an indulger, right, of the food. Which are we? I can readily identify, we must be readily identified in our approaches to better, quote unquote, this Beagle breed or any genre of dogs, but right now we're talking about Beagles. I've been in this thing a little bit over 20 years, adamantly trying to develop a better working Beagle. And I believe my late mentor, Mr. John Otruba, said it best when he said you have to pay allegiance somewhere. A lot of people have no allegiance to anything or anyone. And for that reason, it's so easy for a person or persons to try to blackball, to try to carry that shaded gray cloud or even that blackened cloud of darkness over a person's works and then take the works of another. It's far beyond plagiarism. Because what do you call a person that strives with you and takes strides with you, strides, with you along the way for a number of years, whether it be 5 to 20? In my case, I've got people that have been with me for the last year to 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and people that's known me for over 20 years. And it doesn't seem as if either participant on either level of scale, right, the various ones that they are, I won't physically identify because that's not what I do, and I definitely would not use my platform to promote anyone else that has not put the work in, as I have so sadly done before. I want to ask you guys for my forgiveness because I have promoted people in kennels that I should have never promoted, and I'm going to remain to say their names and all of that because that will be another point of publicity. But these people in persons know who they are. Excuse me. I should have never, ever promoted them. And it saddens me that I have to go forward to say this, but I'm having to now redo not the entire face, but a good portion of the face of my kennel and what I represent and stand for, because what I won't do is stand for all of this blasphemy that is going on, and a lot of people try to keep stimulated and circulating fake news. It's sad because it gets to the point where people have even pointed out guys saying, hey, you know, Anderson has created fake YouTube channels to comment on his own page and so forth and so forth. But a lot of these people are conspirers of people or conspiring with people that I have brought on that either had dogs. If you go back and look at the video I did, I believe it was called The Dark Truths of the Beagle World, Classism, Racism, and the Bullying Spirit. I made certain videos just for certain people, certain parties, to push their underdog status up to a top dog, or at least a dog that could have a decent chance at the fight. Politics do play a huge factor in registered dogs when it comes to field trials and stud ads and stud dogs and the publicity of and pushing of puppies, whatever the agenda is, right? But on the back end of that, you have people that have no allegiances with anyone. They'll talk with you and then go back and talk to the enemy. And to me, I don't have enemies, because the Bible that I read begins to tell us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness, principalities and powers and rulers of darkness in high places. We have to know these things. And I believe in that. People don't believe in darkness. People don't believe in light, but yet you pay a light bill. You don't believe in darkness, you don't believe in light, but yet you believe in yes and no. You believe in truth and lie. We have to believe in something, but that's on them. I don't push religion. What I do push is common sense. If a person has been good to you, be good to them. If a person has been great to you, be great to them. I know me personally, I've taken strenuous loss over these decades that I've been in dogs, helping people and trying to bring people up. I can talk about various dogs, champions that I bought for thousands of dollars and sold them for $800 or $1,000. Various stud dogs that certain peoples or persons are breeding and using, I've either gave and signed the papers over and or sold them dogs for $500-$600, and they turn around and say, hey, I got to get them started, make extensive drives to pick up dogs, and you're talking 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. I mean, I'm not just talking about one person. I'm talking about various people, and you try to help. And it's so hurtful, it's so discouraging, and it almost makes you want to walk away from it, not from the people that are bigoted minded. I've never walked away from a bigoted mindset. Bigoted mindsets are crushed like peanuts and acorns. They're trampled under feet, The bigoted mind is so sad, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I won't hold you, but it's sad because we're so stuck in this stigma of this cornered this cornered type of scope and outlook and perception and persona that people have even began to say, hey man, Anderson is banned from AKC. He's banned to register dogs. He's banned to field trial and attend events. He won't be able to compete, Black Bart, being my Pete dog. He has been banned. He's been written off. He's been struck down with lightning. That's so far from the truth. And we're going to play some of those conversations from AKC, reps and so forth. I've even begun to take on the role of talking to Mr. Mel Stewart's boss. Mr. Mel Stewart is the director of field trials for AKC. He's the guy over there, but he has no power. He's a puppet on a string, and I'm not knocking him. I don't know anything about this man. I just know about his job description, and what's written in the job description is not banning people. He's done nothing to me, right? By the way, let me just say that. I'm saying this to say that he himself is not the power, but he is a puppet of and to the power. So there are other people and powers that be that lord and reign over him to some degree, and they pull the strings, and then they pull the strings, he dances to the music, right? But and I'm not knocking him. Like I said, I have a great love for him. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm throwing light. I'm casting illumination today because I want you guys to understand what you're up against. Be sure that you want to get into dogs. Be sure you want to get into competition. Be sure you want to be a breeder. Be sure you want to raise dogs. Be sure you want to be a trainer. Be sure you want to be a facilitator. Be sure you want to be a friend. Be sure you want to be a helper to those that couldn't help themselves. Some that can't read and write or know how to read the back or the front of a pedigree, know which dogs to run to each other, know which lines not to cross because the oversizedness that may come out of that, the mouthiness that comes out of that. Some people begin to marginalize and put a stick in the gut of money making, or excuse me, not money making. Place a stick in the gut of evolution and revolution, and because they want to stunt the growth of that portion of betterment, only to fatten themselves up like fat cats. And whenever I see a person make similar crosses or same crosses 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and you're not a big breeder, you're not putting forth any kind of real effort to bring on something, and then watch this, you can't even tell any of us why you're even making the cross. Who told you about these crosses? You see, who told you to do these things that you're doing? Why do you run John Doe over to John Frank? Why did you breed Miss Penny Wise over to Miss Penny Soul? Why did you make these crosses? People don't really pay attention to this. You got to ask these people this, guys. You're talking about bottom feeders. When you're talking about bottom feeders, you got to dig. Whenever you talk to a kennel, whenever you talk to a breeder, you want to ask that breeder, you want to ask the facilitator or the establishmentarian of that establishment, how long have you been established? Who put you on? Where did you receive your golden nuggets? Where did you receive your golden ticket to get into the chocolate factory? Where did you get this stuff? Where did you get your tools? Where did you get your nuggets? Where did you get your jewels? Who put you into the place and face of opportunity? Who? And do you still pay homage and give flowers to those people? And if not, why? And then see if the records reflect the same, and see if the math is mathing, because in the words of Taraji P. Hitchens, my dear sister, she says the math ain't mathing. It's not adding up. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. -1 + 1 will always equal 0. And if you take and you take and you take, you have nothing to give. And if you give and you give and you give, you have nothing to take for that of yourself. I've heard this said before, and I'm going to cast it again and re-solicit it again. Listen, guys, if you're a giver, you have to learn limitation. Because if you don't put a limit on the scale of how much you give, takers have no limit on how much they will take. Y'all didn't hear what I said. You have to begin to scale yourself and begin to ration yourself to people. I don't mind talking to people, but everybody won't get my dogs from here on out. We're structuring some different things. I've even begun to take certain dogs out of my breeding program. I love Grampy, and for that, I used his son, field champion rabbit Ridge, New York Nick, who was originally brought down by Mr. R.B. Sester of the Indian Hill line of dogs, had Indian Hill Major and various dogs, very good friend of Mr. Lewis Long's. Mr. Lewis Long had a female that was a daughter of Snops, near international field champion Otruba River Snops. And he had heard about the Grampy dogs and various dogs. And Mr. Sester, being a good friend of his right around the corner from him, they got together one day and he said, hey, have you heard about that Grampy stuff? Woodstock Grampy? Oh, yeah, John Otruba, I've heard about those dogs. I've seen them run. This is, R.B. Sester asked him, Mr. Long. And he said, yeah, I've heard about those dogs and blah, 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 blah. And for you all that don't know, Lewis Long is the gentleman that actually obtained field champion rabbit Ridge, New York Nick. I'm about to make it make sense. And so he says, I've got one over here that's out of Grampy. It's a Sester. And he says to Mr. Long, he's going to be a big one. And he said, I just, you know, I don't like them like this type of thing. This is verbatim, right? This is just paraphrasing. And so he says, but you got a bitch over there and this out of snops and this and that and da-da-da-da. Let's make a trade. No money involved. Okay. Well, Mr. Long, he did that because he's always liked big black and tan dogs. And Nick was the beauty on that. He was easy on the eyes, but he'll tell you he was trash as far as development. I mean, he loved trash. He didn't think he was ever going to get him broke off a deer. He was just a maniac, and he passed a lot of that trait on. He did have some extra mouth. Mr. Long will tell you this. A lot of those things were taking place with him. I've even got so many different videos where I've documented verbally, audibly, excuse me, on several accounts of this. And Mr. John Otruba said the same, rest his soul. And all of a sudden he kicked in. I can't remember the year or the age because I don't have it in front of me, the material. Forgive me for being unprepared in that sense. And so he goes forth and he says, look, we make the trade. They made the trade. The dog starts clicking. I guess one day he just heard Mr. Long say, hey, if you don't come about it, if you don't come to, you got to go. You're going to hit the bricks, dog. And so he kicked in gear and, man, he didn't turn around. And he did some great things. He always produced a greater female than he did a male. Why, I couldn't tell you that. I don't know if it's Gail K, his mom, Harwood's Gail K. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you if it was a Birch Haven Bruiser being back behind her. I couldn't tell you. But what I can tell you is I met Mr. Long several years ago and then met Mr. Otruba, and I fell in love. And those two guys, unpromiscuously, unpervertedly, okay, let me throw that out there for the sake of today's time. And they began to guide me on the do's and don'ts. And so I found various dogs that I could use. Kiss Black Thunder was essentially a grandson, and then I was like, it's got to be closer. And so when other dogs were found out, you know, I wanted to implement those dogs. But at this time, sadly to say, I'm going to disconnect and I'm going to bow out gracefully from the field champion Rabbit Ridge New York Nick line of dogs, because some of the proprietors and possessors of certain intricate pieces of that line of dogs, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to have anything to have my name connected to those things. Certain crosses that I put out there to make, I can tell you guys now, if you ever see Birch Lake dogs crossed onto field champion Rabbit Ridge New York Knicks, listen, I'm the man that did that. I am the officiator and the establishmentarian of those crosses, because those crosses that I know of, according to Mr. John O. and according to Mr. Lewis Long, has never been done. And I know they did a lot of stuff with Snops, a lot of crosses with Snops. Birch Lake Texas T's brother, much larger brother, right? He's a 15-inch dog, maybe a hair over where Texas T was a 13-inch dog, owned by Mr. Dan Harrington. But I can tell you this much, nobody knew to make those crosses but me. And Mr. Long, I'm going to even pull up this interview, and he began to say, no, I didn't think about that. As a matter of fact, I want you guys to pay attention to it and listen to it right here. Listen to this. Mr. Lewis Windy Ridge Long, coming down his driveway right now, getting ready to go inside to see the legendary Mr. Lewis Long. That's right. I won't give his city of Kentucky, but Kentucky. Can't wait. Sit around the campfire with him. It's been a while since I've seen him. I don't think I've actually seen Mr. Long since last year, but we're excited. Stay tuned.
The stars shining bright, and they whispered from on high, your love is said goodbye, blue moon of Kentucky.
Now that's good lady dogs, tough, and good hunt. Now I've never fooled with the Birch Lake. I never have crossed into it.
Mm-hmm.
But now we think to do it now and try it, see what it does. You know?
Yes, sir. Watch out now.
We're going to see, we'll have the puppies on the ground next year.
Yes, sir. Interesting, right? So as you hear for yourself, straight from the horse's mouth, never thought about doing these crosses. So who did? I did. Okay. I don't agree with how people are handling Mr. Long's line of dogs. He didn't make New York Nick. John Otruba did, okay? He's the breeder of Nick. Mr. Long brought him on and brought him into that discovering light where he shined that illuminating light upon him and began to prop him to the point where everybody began to know who he was. Without Mr. Long's development, he would not have probably been known. Unless, I mean, he could have stayed with Mr. John O, and, you know, that's 100% speculation. So I can't tell you what could have, should have, would have. What I will say, what happened and what didn't happen. That's all we have is the facts, the truths and the lies. Okay, so it's written in stone. New York Nick is promoted and solemnly known through the acts and works and actions of that of Mr. Lewis Long, attributed to his hands. Okay, that's safe to say. I believe me now, if you look at how my intro was for all this time, it was originally International Field Champion Taylor Socket to me, Field Champion Rabbit Ridge New York Nick, Birch Lake Texas T, and then I brought on Pete to show you how simultaneously all three of those dogs, that trifold blend, made the very male that I'm promoting. Now, is he going to be the only male I'm promoting? No, but he is going to be the primary male that I would be promoting at least at this time. So we could shift again, but I'm a thinker, guys. So when everybody else is asleep, I'm running dogs and I'm thinking. When everybody else is asleep, I'm driving, I'm trying to figure out better dogs and trying to find, you know, dogs within the family. And so I'm cross-referencing. I'm that Tetris thinker. I'm that chess thinker. This is chess, not checkers. This is not just a mere board game. You know, if you're going to be in this thing, Mr. Rufus Stewart used to tell me all the time, you got to be 3 to 5 breedings ahead of every cross that you make. Before you even make it, you need to know the names and the crosses and the males that you're going to take, the females you're going to make to take to which males, so forth. You have to have a game plan, Anderson. And I said, yes, sir. He said, the key to longevity is endurance. And how do you endure if you don't exactly know what the regimen is to do so? And it made all the sense in the world. So just those small jewels helped me out. But it's got to the point where the various people that I began to put in position in place have begun to try to, I guess, be the teacher now and do their own thing. That's what I wanted you to do. But prematurely, no. In your own time and in your own right, you're going to fly from the nest when your wings say you're ready to fly. But you just can't take off when you was only born yesterday. And so it gets to the point now, man, where, you know, when guys call, you don't know who to trust, who to let dogs go to, because they're trying to bring this over to that and breed to this. And, you know, man, listen, it's sad that it's got to that point, but I'm redoing a lot of what my breedings were. I don't have to do that. That's the thing about a thinker, guys. And I'm always pushing you guys to be self-sustained, self-sufficient, self-efficient, because then you'll be so much more effective. You don't have to be tied in or entangled into the webs of all of the, you know, hoopla, right? Because it's not by happenstance sake that people want your position. It's not by happenstance sake that somebody would want the very trophy that you have obtained, that you have achieved, whatever that is. I'm hypothetically speaking, right? People really are not comfortable in the skin that they are in, and for that reason, guys. And I'm saying this, and I'm blowing the whistle on all and to all kennels. Hold fast to your breedings. Hold fast to your frozen semen. Hold fast to your females, to your stud dog, to the information and wisdom and knowledge, and to the works that you have put in. Listen, guys, if you are not careful, so many people will take over or try to do a hostile takeover silently without even knowing how to drive the car that you've built to drive yourself all this time. This car has been manufactured and fabricated by you and self alone, and all of the mentors along the way that told you how to turn a boat in the first place, right? And then all of a sudden, you put some people in the car, y'all start driving down the road, and they say, I like this car. I don't want a car like this one. I want this car that you're driving. And so you pull over for gas, and while you're in the store, they take off on the car that you have. Now, you've already filled the tank. But watch this. There's a special way to the gas cap. Lord, I'm talking. I'm preaching better than some of y'all responding. There's a special way to open the gas cap, and they don't know this. They just know they got a full tank of gas, and they know to put the car in drive and take off. There's a specific way that you got to stop this car, or you'll burn the brakes up. This car has been fabricated to you. There's a certain way you got to open the trunk, or else you're going to be riding down the street with the trunk. There's a certain way that you got to pull over and put air in the tire. Because guess what? When the car runs out of gas, if you don't know these intricate and intimate things, guess what? You got another car, but because that car was never fabricated or molded to you and to fit you and your person, it's not tailor-made for you, but it's tailor-made for somebody. Watch this, and that somebody is not you. Guess what's going to happen? You're just going to be another guy. You're going to be another woman. You're going to be another person. Watch this, with a tailor-made car with no instinct on how to make it mobile. Now, you've got something valuable, but you don't even know how to show it off because there's no way possible that you can get it to the showing to put it before the people's eyes because you don't know how to own or operate it. But you had ownership and you had fun driving for the matter of time that the gas tank was full from the person who has established that car's existence and filled the tank in the first place. Now you don't even know how to fill the tank. You don't even know how to keep it rolling. You don't even know how to keep it in motion. Why are you saying all these parables, Tyson? Why are you speaking in between to the point where we had to read between the lines, Tyson? Because I've never been one to tear a person's character down. I don't believe in doing that, and I hate the bullying spirit. For you all to know that about me, I was picked on in high school and middle school up until the point where I began to take on my gang life. And I laid down my tears for a flag. And I said, you know what, I'll stand for something because I know I got people standing behind me. And so I began to sell drugs, guys. I turned to the street life. You know, even way before middle school and high school, but it was to the point where people really didn't know how to take me. And as I began to turn into this monster, because I believed that the monster is who they wanted. And as I showed them that monster-like face and facing, it was just saddened to me that people received me better. The women received me better. The guys that said they were my friends received me better when I was a monster. They didn't understand me and know how to receive me when I was a young man in the making. At this point, I think we're going to promote mainly Birch Lake and Socket to me. I'm going to begin to touch back into some of the frozen semen and roots that we have there. Had a great conversation with the people today over at the vet, and we're so elated. Some guys, I believe, even begin to make the comment and say he doesn't have semen. If he had frozen semen, he would use it by now. Is that so? If that's the case, why hadn't Branko used all of the semen that he's had? If that's the case, why haven't so many of us, the people that still have semen off of dogs that come down or derive or certain derivatives of certain strains of families of Indian Hill, Major, Dingus, McCrae, Yellow Creek dogs, this dog, that dog, Weir Creek, Flat Creek, Pearson Creek, whatever it is, I'm talking about the old school, not this modern stuff. Why is it that nobody has used theirs? A lot of people are not using it because a lot of people don't know what they're doing. Anybody can freeze semen. You can take frozen semen and put it, you can take dog semen, ejaculate that dog, collect him, and put it in a frozen bag and put it in the deep freezer. That's frozen semen. Okay? Everybody can't utilize and implement into their breeding program frozen semen because just because a person uses frozen semen or has the title upon their door or on their name tag saying PhD this or doctor this doesn't mean that they know exactly what they're doing or they've got the time in. Their tenure may be too small. Their time invested may be too micro, might be too miniature, right? But so I only deal with professionals and I deal with wise counsel. I sit with people, I talk and I do and I talk and I do and I go and I listen, I learn and I talk and I listen and I receive and I write and I pen and I journal and I study and I write and I pen and I journal. That's me. I'm a thinker. I'm a student of the Beagle breed. I'm not my own teacher. I'm my own student. At the greatest of all things that you can ever be, you will be no more or no better or no larger or any higher than that of a student. If you ever put yourself in a position where you're teaching more than you're learning, and you're not learning more than you're teaching, you're in a very vital and very precarious situation where your back is getting ready to be up against the wall. And I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about anyone that takes on the mindset of thinking like this because that's a wrong way to think, my friend. That's a displaced mindset. And if you're not careful, that displaced mindset will not only displace you, but it will cause you to self-destruct. And I'm watching these guys that have taken on certain breedings and people that I've helped for so many years now. It's sad to me that people would do the things that they're doing, but I've been warned about this and I never thought it was true. And so some of the various ones that have spoke bad, and guys, let me tell y'all something. I have gotten death threats. I've had people send all kind of hateful, derogatory, descending, bigoted type of stuff in from email, text messages, and we're dealing with certain authorities to do what we need to do. I've even had clubs go and say that I wasn't welcome there at the clubs and certain things. Some of these places I've never even trialed. I didn't even put a dog in, right? And to this point, upon speaking with AKC, they said, hey, listen, you give us a call, you let us know what's going on, let us know what's taking place. And immediately at the point where this, and this is not lining up, you let us know. And as soon as you let us know, we are going to take affirmative action. So, and we were even talking about locking down clubs from being able to host or hold events, and possibly even revoking them indefinitely. Judges being fired, marshals being fired. People don't want this, but they're doing this and not understanding that when you throw your rock and you hide your hand, there's still a fingerprint on the rock. There's still a sign of some kind of AI that captured what you did. They captured that throwing. They captured a portion of what you committed. Everything is not. It can't be just erased that from the map of all memory banks and all cameras and all. It's too much technology out here that can show and pinpoint that you threw the rock, sir. You threw the rock, ma'am. And so the only thing you did was disturb the water. And I'm glad because now I'm the depth finder. I'm the person. I'm going to be the scuba diver that's crazy enough to see. Now that this rock has broken the silence and the surface of this water, I'm going to go down here and see exactly how deep it is. I'm going to come back and report to whomever it needs to be reported to. This is the depth of this water. Now what do we do about it? Because there's a species down here in the bottom that's feeding by the name of this, by the species of this, that we need to put tabs on, and we need to pay attention to this. And hey, listen, the gloves are off. I'm going by the book. And as AKC and people have said, go by the book. And so people that's not playing fair, let this be a warning. I'm coming for clubs. I'm coming for people. I'm coming for kennels that are coming in any ungodly, unruly, unjust, uncommon way of that bigoted entry. And if they come with that, I'm going to meet them with energy that I don't have to fist fight. We don't have to go exchange bullets. I'm going to let people like AKC and so many others, I'm going to let those entities handle these people, because that's the way to do it, guys. Like the first time that these things have begun to happen almost 20 years ago, I was like, man, what in the world's going on? My grandfather said, son, this is what you're in. I had one guy, and it's going to be a little vulgar, so if you got kids, go ahead and put them to the side or turn the volume down or put your headphones on now, because I want to just read to you what they said. Now, I don't want to share this guy. I could blast him, but I'm not going to do that. One guy says, hey boy, I see that you like to play with things that you don't have any, I don't know what he's trying to say, but that you don't have any recollection, something. He's trying to say recollection of, and I don't know what he's saying there. He says, nigger, you are to get out of, I guess he's trying to say you should or ought to get out of our sport. This is our sport, and we don't need your kind in it. Please do us all favor and get H out. Wow. Here's another one that says, hold on, let me pull this up. It says, hey, your time is coming for doom and gloom. The gates of hell is going to rain upon your head. I don't know who this person is. His name, I'm not going to call this guy's name. And I looked this person up. This guy is a white supremacist in Tennessee. The name that he dropped. He says he teaches us moral conduct and ethical principles that show that your race is just that: dogs, monkeys, heathens, and they should have been put in their place a long time ago. Jim Crow was not enough. Are y'all hearing what I'm telling you? This is the stuff. I could really go into some stuff that would be so nasty that you wouldn't even be able to listen to it. But it's sad that people think like that. So for this reason, I am pulling my hand back from a lot of the things I was doing. If I haven't grandfathered you in on taking you in under my wing and sending puppies to you and helping you out, guys, I think I'm going to cut back a whole lot of what I was doing, because at this point, I don't know who the enemy is. And I'm not talking about my actual enemy. I don't know who the spirit of the enemy has got into. And so for that reason, I don't trust anybody. I don't deal with pretty much anybody anyway. But it's sad that I have to take these precautions and these certain safety measures, because it's getting to the point where people have begun to ask and offer even money, which is also serving as a type of ransom. I have evidence to prove this for my whereabouts. They've asked and offered money for my whereabouts to do me bodily harm. And I have these text messages from various people that have said certain things and even begin to tell me, Tyson, if you don't have a gun, arm yourself. And I would be cautious going to field trials, sir, because these guys have been talking about how they're going to do you. I have a certain buddy that had a coon dog, and he experienced this in the UKC, the very exact same thing. And these people flattened his tires and they were going to try to kill this man, we believe. Okay, and if you go back and look at it, there's nothing that's not public. There's not public information. It is public information, and it's research information. Guys, do your research on these things, man. To the point where these guys even posted a thing about me of a certain criminal matter that I had with a relative of mine, where they tried to prove that I broke into a person's house and did this. Listen, guys, it doesn't matter what you're charged with. It's what you were convicted of. I've never been convicted of dog theft. I've never been convicted of fraud when it comes to dealing with dogs or transactions. Never. Been in the court several times, never been found convicted. Every last one of them they dismissed, okay, including the one where they posted in some kind of Beagle form. I don't know. I'm not on social media, but I've heard of me breaking and entering some years ago, right? Guess what? That case was dismissed. I don't have to tell all this, but this stuff is researchable information. The video on YouTube, listen, guys, Mr. Dennis Palmer, he was paid before he even made the video. That's why everybody's asking, did you ever get your money? He never responded and said, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. Okay. So a lot of this is very laughable, but I'm saying this not to prove a point or try to get face for me. I'm saying all this, guys, to let you guys know, listen, guard yourselves, guard your dogs, guard everything that's about your being. And I'm going to let you just hear a little bit about if I'm eligible and my dog is eligible or not to participate into hunt tests and field trial events. And I'll let you hear it for yourself. You listen to it, you form your own opinion, and then we're going to end it up with Mr. John Otruba talking about you got to pay your allegiance to somebody or somewhere. And why do I say that? Because if you're going to somebody, you need to figure out and ask these questions. Why are you breeding the dogs that you're breeding? Why does your dog's back right leg on all your females seem to have a white sock and the toenails are both clear, black, and white? Why is it that they have one blue eye, one hazel eye? Why is the left ear up and the other one's down? Why does their bites come like this? Why does their gaits like this? Why are they this size? Why do they have big noses? Where did the hard hunt come from? Ask these guys the hard questions, guys, that are pushing the agendas of other people's kennels and other people's brain power. Watch this in stewardship and workmanship and craftiness and innovativeness. Ask these people the detailed specifics, the specificities of their breeding program. And 9 times out of 10, bottom feeders can't explain or give elaborate, detailed information on what somebody else pioneered, because guess what? They never did it. Hear this for yourself.
Deals and transactions don't make you ineligible to campaign dogs, enter dogs in, as you said, if the dogs meet the requirements of the measurements and so forth and so forth. And like you said, if that was the case, AKC, like you said, would have notified me, Tyson, not a club or not people to say he's banned.
That is correct. So, have you entry form, as long as you have fill out the entry form and got your entry form, have you been turned away from an event?
I'm going to be going to some events very close, very soon, Miss Connie, and I will be letting you know if this happens or occurs, because I do understand those are grounds for prejudice and so many other different things.
I mean, since nothing has actually happened yet,
Yes, ma'am, it's all speculation.
they have not turned away, right, they have not rejected your entry. There's nothing that can be done.
Right, and I don't want it to be right
But
now.
if
It's
you
just
actually
curious to
go
know
to-
why
right.
they would say that, you know?
Right. If you actually go to an event and your entry is turned down, then you would contact us, and I would get you over to my director, Carolyn Murphy.
Yes, and she knows me very well. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you know Carolyn.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. See, I've been calling you guys for the longest. I think I almost about remember when you first started with AKC. I remember I would catch you a lot of the times, and you would say, "Hey," you say, "Mr. Tyson." This is when I lived in McLeansville, but I don't live at this particular location anymore. So, but yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time, so I'm grateful. But yes, ma'am, we've definitely been seeing this, and it's sad. It's began to happen a lot more heavier than other times. I don't know. It's one of those things that we're going to continue to push until we get pushed back, and even when we get pushed back, we're still going to keep pushing. So, I'm not scared of bigotry or racism. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't look at stumbling blocks, as stumbling blocks. They're stepping stones. So push back. It is what it is. I'm seeing it, and it's disgusting. But somebody has to take a stand, or it's just going to be done to everybody. So.
And I agree with you. And so it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry that you have to experience that. But I hope that the individuals realize that if you put an entry in, they can't decline your entry.
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
They should know that they can't decline your entry.
Yes, ma'am. It feels good sometimes to hear it from the rep, because I don't think people really understand how AKC works. They think they can these people just say stuff, and it's like, dude, that's not even actual facts. You're just talking. It's hilarious.
It's just posturing.
You're right. You know what I mean? Just talk.
Something happened, didn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I was, you were making a great point, talking about guys getting going into a line of dogs that they don't know anything about, and failing to go back into the source.
Yeah, certainly.
Yes, sir.
I'm the same way. If I was gonna use a dog, I'd certainly call the guy that owns the son of a bitch and knows the bloodline before I go to somebody that had the second or third generation beyond it. It don't make sense to me.
Yes, sir.
Don't make
Yes, sir. I tell you what.
They call Lewis more than they call me about my bloodline. And, Lewis hasn't been the breeder of it. I have. And, he bred New York Nick, but Nick came from me. So, they never called me, asked me about Nick's mother or his father. So, there's a story behind all of them. But